so excited to hop into this extremely important topic. I mean, I think tariffs are impacting everyone's business because we're in a global supply chain, and that touches a lot of different aspects. And so we're here, and we're going to share some lessons, and let's kick it off. Why don't we all start by introducing yourself and briefly giving us a little taste of how tariffs are impacting your business?
Sure. So my name is Leah Scarpelli. I'm an attorney at ArentFox Schiff in Washington, D.C. So a little bit different than my other panelists. Tariffs are not impacting my business, but we're helping our clients navigate the tariffs.
Well, it's booming.
It's definitely moving, but yeah, we're helping them figure out how to navigate the tariffs and use this challenging situation to their advantage to the best that they can. So it's been a hectic time.
Lovely. My name is Ori Zohar. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Burlap Barrel. We're a single origin spice company. We work directly with smallholder farmers in over 30 countries to set them up to be their own direct exporters of their spices. They grow the spices, clean, dry, grind, and prepare for export. Farmers make a lot more money. We get really fresh, really high quality spices. And for us, the tariffs have been front and center because we bring in about 10% of our spices domestically. We buy what grows in the US, but key spices, cinnamon, black pepper, vanilla, there's no domestic industry for any of that. So this has been quite front and center for us, and we've been thinking about it a lot.
My name is Chitra Agrawal. I'm the founder of Brooklyn Deli. We make premium Indian sauces, condiments, and heat meals, and we make authentic Indian products, so we're sourcing authentic Indian ingredients, and so the tariffs have definitely hit us hard, as well as we have packaging that's coming from China and Taiwan, so we just have a global supply chain, so we're definitely affected.
Okay, so let's stick with Leah for a second here. Can you give us a brief overview of all the different types of tariffs that are impacting businesses that are coming here, and businesses and especially Food Association, and also kind of share some of the loopholes that we should be looking out for?
Sure. Not a lot of loopholes, but a lot of tariffs, and a lot of different tariffs that stack on top of each other in kind of confusing ways. So we have the reciprocal tariffs of 10%, which are the tariffs on everywhere. Those are 10% now, but they might be changing this month, actually, to individualized rates. You'll see a trend, I think, if you haven't experienced it already. There's a lot of kind of last-minute announcements and then rollbacks of those announcements. We're really needing businesses to be flexible and adjust quickly to the changing situation. We also have the steel and aluminum tariffs, which might affect a lot of your packaging. Those started at 25% and recently increased to 50%. Obviously a huge difference in terms of impact, and the scope of those tariffs are changing all the time. So we've seen aluminum cans get added to that, which had a big impact on a lot of members. Also refrigeration equipment has now been added, which could have an impact downstream. We also have special tariffs on China. Those are quite a bit higher than other countries just because of the 25% 301 that we had from the first Trump administration, and then we also have an additional 20%. Canada and Mexico also treated a little bit differently. Day by day, Canada is kind of in the crosshairs right now, so we're waiting to see what happens there. So basically your tariff will vary based on what you're importing and where it's coming from.
So what's the best way to kind of understand what's going on? There's so much chaos, and what have you found most helpful for your clients, or if anyone else on the panel has found something's helpful to figure out what's going on? Really?
Yeah, I can start, but I'm definitely
and how things are changing. So it seems like they're changing a lot.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a disconnect between an announcement, which might come via Truth Social or X or even the news, and then what is actually happening in terms of implementation. So a tariff cannot be implemented via a Truth Social post. So sometimes we'll see the post, we'll react to that post, of course, but until there is an executive order and customs instructions about the collection of the tariff doesn't exist. So you'll see the news reporting on a tariff that might not yet have taken effect. And even if a tariff has been announced, that next step of the executive order might never come. So it's really important that you're not reacting only to the social media, that you're waiting to see step 2, which is the implementation. I know our law firm has a tariff tracker that tracks in real time what is an official tariff that will be collected at the time of entry, which is really important. There are a lot of great resources online, but maybe steer clear of the social media news outlets when it comes to figuring out what the tariff will actually be when your product is coming into the country.
Yeah, if I can share, I think it's been really interesting. I mean, Tariff Tracker, what unpredictable times we're in right now. Well, we've seen, I think that there's like this knee-jerk reaction direction where what you really want to do is you hear something and you're like, oh my God, I have to protect the business. I need to shift things over, place huge orders, move things around, change our holiday plans, all that. And what we're seeing is that like there's the tariffs and there's the uncertainty. And so we've really tried to separate those things out. We really try to think about like what are the values of our business and how do we make decisions here. And so we've been waiting to hear the tariffs, and we heard about the reciprocal tariffs, and oh my God, what do we do if our cinnamon comes from Vietnam, and if Vietnam gets bumped up to 46% tariffs, what are we going to do? And so like I think there's this first knee-jerk reaction where you're like, oh my God, I have to buy all the cinnamon, I have to buy all the packaging. But for early stage businesses, it can really mess up your cash flow, and it can really mess up your whole business to be jumping every day with the news. And we've heard many stories of people that said, oh my God, I reacted quickly, and now I have $100,000 of packaging that I didn't actually need, and because of all this stuff happened, the economy slowed down, or this happened, my sales slowed down. Now you're getting hit twice, where you're out a lot of cash, your sales might be slowing down. And so we've been really trying to kind of stay the course, figure out what our values are, how are we going to decide and kind of navigate through this, not take news, like you're saying, until it actually becomes news and policy, and then also try to really be really, really tight with the financials of our business, because when we looked at all these tariffs, we were like, oh my God, it's going to be crazy. And then we did the math, and we're like, okay, if we have to pay 10% here, a little bit here, a little bit, like where can we kind of start saving that money? And I'll talk about that a little bit later, but we tried to be really creative of saying if there are going to be increased costs here, where can you save costs to kind of offset that? But rule number one is take a deep breath, take a walk around the block, and then like actually try to separate the hype from the actual news from what's actually happening. And that's really helped us be like a true north to not every 2 weeks change our business outlook fundamentally as the news kind of bounce around, but wait for things to actually hit the market and then pivot from there.
Yeah, great learnings there. What's been helping you navigate this chaos?
I mean, also, it's just like there's so much uncertainty that a lot of new initiatives can't move forward because I can't even track the costs that I have on my current product. So if you're looking to launch a new product at this time, it's very hard to grapple with what are those costs. And for us, what we've been doing is just having different cost scenarios for each of the SKUs that we have. So we have several different scenarios that are based off of the different tariff rates. And so that gives us at least a little bit of control, because you want to take some of that back because we're in such just uncertain waters. So just trying to prepare as best you can for the cost that may hit you.
Yeah, that's great. There's definitely some lessons there, and I think this audience wants to hear some more. So let's talk about the short term and long term. Can you share a little bit about how you responded in the first 24, 48 hours, and then also how you've been kind of setting your business up for success amid this kind of long-term uncertainty?
Well, I feel like a lot of our suppliers, basically when the news came out about the tariffs, for even the 10%, they just passed on that 10% to us right away. So we had to basically absorb that. There were some suppliers that we were able to speak to and talk about kind of bringing in inventory for us, especially the suppliers that we've been working with for many, many years. And so for some of those suppliers, they were able to bring in maybe a few months supply for us to keep on hand. But we are a bootstrap business, so we can't really buy large quantities. So we have to rely on those relationships right now.
Yeah, when we heard the news too of the tariffs, we didn't know what to do, and we were trying to figure out how to react. We had our warehouse full of inventory. This was right after Q4 when we were had gone through all the sales where we want to be staffed up, we have the biggest sales. And so we were going to run a little spring sale, but when we saw the tariffs coming in, we kind of saw that there was a moment here. So we did a few things. One is we announced a tariff sale, and we did our first ever site-wide sale. We did 10% off for every order. It jumped up to 20% as your orders got bigger. And then what we did is we wrote a heartfelt letter to our customers. Me and my co-founder, we wrote as human beings out to our customers, said, hey, we're in unpredictable times. We don't know what's going to happen. And you, dear consumers, get to vote with your dollars which businesses are going to get through this whole unexpected, unpredictable period. So we kind of sent this heartfelt letter in an honest way. We didn't try to be this big corporate entity. We spoke honestly and said, we need your help right now, and we're also doing a sale to kind of help justify, because we said, you know what, if we can sell down the inventory in our warehouse, if we can have a little bit more money in our bank account, we'll be in a better position to navigate whatever comes next. We also didn't fully believe that the high tariffs will be coming in, the reciprocal tariffs will be coming in, because we thought that we're in the same boat as everybody else. We're not less we're not like less susceptible to this, but we are just as bigger spice companies where for them also cinnamon doesn't grow in America. Like we're all in the same boat, so we'll be moving together. And so what we ended up doing is we did this week-long sale. We did these big deals. We said, please, this is a great time to purchase. This is a great time to share to your friends. And then we also made 2 big commitments. And we said, based on these first round of tariffs, we're not going to ask our partner farmers to cover the costs, and we're not going to increase prices for you, dear consumer. Because what we saw is that one is for our partner farmers, they're doing their job. They're doing everything right, and they're growing the spices, and we have these long-term relationships. We didn't feel like it was fair to come to them with price hikes and to come and be like, no, we can't pay what we've always been paying you. And then number 2, for customers, we're in an inflationary environment. People are struggling to make ends meet. People are trying to figure out how far their dollar goes in the grocery store. And so we thought that we would actually be putting ourselves in a worse position if all of our spices all of a sudden jumped from $9.99 to $11.99, and we were kind of like holding our partner farmers' prices down and really trying to do all this to kind of amass like all this like margin, win it back. We said, no, this is the exact right time to show up for our customers, to make commitments based on our values, and to say, hey, and we're in fact going to do a sale to give you a really easy incentive to come in and engage and buy a little more and stock up, which will also help our business be in a better position to weather whatever comes next. And the results of that were phenomenal. We didn't know what we were going to expect, but we had 2 and 3 of our biggest days of sales in the history of the company.
Wow.
Number 1 was Shark Tank. But 2 and 3 were our tariff sale. And so it was really cool to like speak honestly, speak vulnerably to our customers and have them show up for us in a really thoughtful way. And that really like set our year on a totally new trajectory when the tariffs first hit.
And that new trajectory is everything. I mean, it would have been make or break probably otherwise.
Totally.
Wow. So I'm just going to say right here, we're going to break for questions in a little bit. So start thinking of anything specific for anyone on the panel. But now I'll turn back to Leah for a second. So what really can businesses do?
Yeah.
There's some talks of lawsuits, or if you can get an exemption. Can you walk us through what that looks like and what the potential really would be?
Sure, of course. So in the short term, it's important that you're entering your merchandise correctly. This is in rapidly changing environment, and you're not in the tariff business, you're in the food business, but you have to have some working knowledge of tariffs right now, unfortunately. And so it's important that when your products are coming in, you know what rate they're coming in at, you know that your paperwork is in order. All of that is really important. So that's just kind of a preliminary short-term thing that has to be happening now. Long-term, there are definitely ways to challenge these tariffs, varying degrees of success, I think, that might come with those. So first, I live in DC, so lobbying is always very top of mind. There are a lot of big companies that are lobbying about tariffs right now on the Hill. Not a lot of success so far, but what they're asking for is an exemption process. So basically saying instead of a hammer where everything is covered by a tariff, maybe let's do a scalpel, and certain products that aren't made in the US might not be the best candidate for a tariff. Cinnamon is not made here, so that you're going to pay the tariff and it's going to get passed to the consumers, so that's not the right product as compared to something that has a massive US market. So there was an exclusion process under the first Trump administration for many of those tariffs. We think there will be an exclusion process for these tariffs eventually. We're not there yet, but you can start thinking about what that process might look like and the arguments that you can make to get an exclusion when the time comes. So of course, domestic availability or unavailability is the biggest thing, but also harm to the US economy and to US consumers are things that are gonna be considered as part of any exclusion process. We're also, there are lawsuits that have been filed. Tariff authority is delegated to the president by Congress, so either Congress or the courts can be a check on that authority. Congress has not shown a ton of willingness to be that check yet, but again, I think that will change as we see inflationary pressure and other things work their way through. A lot of the really high tariffs haven't hit the markets yet because of inventory and just the rates are a bit locked. On the lawsuit side, the judiciary, there have been challenges, varying degrees of success there. So far, nothing that would stop the tariffs, but there are legal arguments to be made about whether the president is exceeding the authority that has been delegated to him. So it's something that we're watching and we'll continue to watch that could ultimately result in the tariffs being reversed, but it's like a years-long process. Unfortunately, our courts move slow.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and what's the timeline really for extensions or what that could look like, exemptions? Sorry.
Yeah, for the exclusions or exemptions, once that process is announced, they could be due very quickly. It could be like a 30 to 60 day period where you file for these exemptions. But then the government has to work through all of the exemptions that have been filed. So that could be several more months, depending on who's staffing it. Our government's a little bit lean right now.
And then you'd have to pay the tariffs up until that point?
Yes, but in the first Trump administration, the exclusions were actually retroactive to the date of filing, which could be huge, especially if they're processing for a long time. So again, this is speculative, no process yet, but it's something that is being lobbied for very hard, and that we're hoping we'll see it in the next few months.
Interesting. So let's go back and talking about price, because I mean, that's unknown expenses, or you were saying that you guys promised not to change prices, but Chitra, you might be considering it. Can we talk about, how you're navigating that, and also, what it kind of means to take a price hike now and then maybe not be able to make the price go back down later?
Right, so Brooklyn Deli is distributed nationally in retailers like Whole Foods, and we use distributors, the major distributors like UNFI or KeHE, and what is a little bit tricky here is that it takes about 3 months to have your price increase actually hit the shelves. And for us, we're in a place where, the costs that are hitting us, we are a smaller brand, so we don't have as large of margin, so it's really hitting us hard, but at the same time, we're a premium brand, so if we raise our prices, we are then maybe losing, we may be losing volume. So we're really getting squeezed on both sides, and it could lead us to be unsustainable if we raise our prices, but also if we don't raise our prices, then our margin is completely shot.
Right.
So it's just like right now we're not sure, and I am waiting to see what is going to be the outcome, because if I make a change and increase my prices, it's going to take 3 months. But a lot of times when you want to bring your prices down, it's the same thing. So you kind of have to wait.
Right, you and premium brands have been working for years to make your brands more accessible, bring prices down, and so it's like almost erasing like years of.
Yeah, and then
work
the
for
other
that.
piece about it too is that, say my costs increase by $1 and I pass that on, a consumer is going to pay 2 to 3 times more because it's going to pass through so many hands. So I really have to think about that decision, really hard.
Great point. Does anyone have any questions? If so, we have 2 mics in the front and in the back.
And can I give you a
Please.
hot, maybe illegal take? I don't
Yeah,
know.
let's go.
Let's see where this goes. This is a weird time. We don't really understand where the tariffs are going to go. We don't understand where the enforcement of the tariffs is going to be. I don't know. I think we as companies, as producers that are bringing things into the world, we owe it to our customers, we owe it to our employees, we owe it to all of our stakeholders to take a strong position on this and to have an opinion on it and to go. So I don't know. Whatever we have at our I don't know, whatever we can do to. Maybe don't pay the tariffs. I don't know. Look at enforcement. This is what we've seen the ultra wealthy do for a long time.
Sure.
Is let them bill us. Let them figure out that we
Bill
didn't
me
pay
later.
it, and then
Yeah.
we'll pay the penalty later. I don't know. Make a lot of noise. Talk to your consumers. Let people know. And I think the other point is that at times where these big players are destabilized, everyone's thinking about this. The McCormick CEO is thinking about this. Everyone is kind of chewing on these tariffs. I think this is a moment where everyone is going to knee-jerk reaction. That's going to be the point for very good reasons. Is going to want to push price increases into this. We've been trying to find places where we can decrease prices, not because things are our costs are coming down, but where there are places where maybe we had protected our margins a little bit. But I think this is the moment where all of a sudden mediocre products are going to be priced higher and higher. Can we maintain or maybe even cut by a little bit? And maybe that's going to be the moment for us to kind of capture people's minds and hearts. And I think that's another point where we are a 75% e-commerce company. And so we have this direct relationship with customers. We don't have to go through the grocery stores. And so we can also really do this with we can bring more people straight to us as grocery store prices go up and up. So we've been trying to be really creative about it and find lots of different ways to take a stand in this tariff time. And one company that we really admire that's been our true north is a company like Patagonia. How have they always taken a stand, sued the government, made strong points, really built their company in ways that support their product and their ethos and make people really love them and be willing to kind of ride along with them even when there's turbulent economic times. And so that's what we've been thinking about a lot, and especially at a time where the economy, if the economy tanks, and we don't know, so far the stock market's at all-time highs and who knows what's going to happen, but what we're seeing is that when times are good, people are spending a lot more money on groceries and all that. When times are tough, people are cutting back vacations, fancy cars, restaurants, and dining out. We also have a role to be there for them, to be like, no, we're here so that you can still eat well and you can still feel like you're living a good life and doing it all. And so we're trying to find ways to kind of pivot and show up in customers' lives in ways that they need it when bigger companies are not going to be able to pivot and to change their conversation and their products and their packaging and their messaging because they're locked into these multi-year relationships and all that. So that's what we're really trying ways to be kind of crafty and nimble in this strange moment.
I really appreciate all that. Yeah, if you can, there's a mic right there. Thank you. Yeah, there's two. One there, one over there.
Hi, what are the platforms for advocacy that you're seeing coming up from the industry side? Is the Specialty Food Association, is the National Retail Federation, are any of these people offering a meaningful platform to oppose tariffs? Because, there is a bully pulpit that the president has who, who's every day with posts that sound like verbal diarrhea, come up with, threatening Walmart or threatening Amazon or threatening any of these people. So I'm just asking, how do manufacturers, how do we actually help consumers, wholesalers, retailers, all of us? How do we help consumers? Because ultimately this is going to hit them. This is not a tax on other countries like we are being gaslit, right? People's purses are going to be pinched. So how are we offering them platforms for advocacy?
Thank you.
So I can start. I mentioned lobbying previously. Lobbying doesn't have to be coming to DC and going office to office. This is the time to introduce yourself to your congressional representatives, their elected officials. If there is a business in their district that's negatively impacted, if there are employees that are going to be laid off, if there are consumers that are going to pay more for products that they love, they should know that. And that can be a letter, that can be a call. But the more voices that they hear, the hope is that there is eventually some reaction to this situation. What we are seeing now is that the Democrats are, well aware of what's going on, but don't feel like they have the voice to speak up and make a difference at the moment because they're the minority in both houses. The Republicans are talking privately but not publicly about what they're feeling towards this economic situation. But the more that they're contacted by constituents, the more noise that's being heard, and the closer that we get to the midterms, I think that will shift and we'll start seeing more vocal opposition by the Republican Party, which is ultimately what will lead to a change here. So I would just encourage you, this is the time to reach out, invite your representatives for visits. If you have facilities in the US, make sure that they know what's going on and how you're impacted. It's not the time to be quiet, and it doesn't have to be a major organized push. If you are a member of a trade association, a lot of them are doing coordinated outreach or making resources available, so definitely check those as well.
There's a company called Small Business Majority that we've been chatting with that have been a really nice, done a nice job kind of bringing small businesses together and kind of sharing our voices, and kind of they have much more political connections to kind of have that. But I think that it is absolutely our responsibility to make noise about this. And I think this is what we'll kind of get. I'm not expecting the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies to that are kind of to duke it out. We haven't seen any leadership, bravery, boldness kind of out of that whole cohort. I think it's absolutely our job. If you own a store, you have hundreds and thousands of people that walk through your space every single day. For us, we have a mailing list of over 100,000 people. So we really want to be the ones that will make noise. And I think 1,000 voices will kind of all add up to kind of shifting sentiment on all this stuff. I mean, they're lying to us, negotiations and deals and whatever. In the meantime, we're trying to plan for Q4 and how we're going to survive as businesses. If you're welcome to negotiate, but not in a way that has this much collateral damage on everyday people. And so I think that it is actually really important for us talk to our people, talk to our customers, talk to our network and our community, and make it really clear where we stand on this and what we ask for them. And hopefully your customers will vote with their dollars too and stand up and show up for our businesses and help us kind of get through this really wild and uncertain time. Because yeah, like Chitra was saying, like giant companies have tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in kind of reserves. They can kind of flow through this and kind of see what happens. We don't have that same luxury. And I think the right thing is to take a stand and to take a bold, even if it's just within your community organization. I think that will already start and create waves kind of out to the larger population.
I do notice that people want to do something,
Yeah.
but they need to be led to do that. They need to have some signature campaigns or some standard formats in which they can reach out to their representatives. You know, it's
Yeah.
important for them to have those resources. You know, so that's why I was asking, what are those platforms that we're offering? Because if there is a consumer that walks into my store, they should be able to sign something, and we should be able to give that to you know, the representatives, right?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of momentum we need.
Yeah, even as businesses, we can give them the platform, something to sign, something to share, something to this. I totally agree with you, and I think it's great that you're thinking that way, because that's exactly, I think, what will create that voice that people are pretty unhappy with this, and there needs to be change from our political leadership.
To do something, they just don't know how.
Yeah.
Right.
Even if you provide them with the details of these are your local, you know, representatives, reach out to them. This is the format in which you can oppose it. You know,
Totally.
something very straightforward. Especially Food Association and National Retail Federation. All these people can make sure that we get it out there. You know, ultimately these people get voted in, right?
Right.
And they brag about it.
All right, you're invited to join the
Yeah,
panel.
yeah.
Get up
I
here.
can start with you. Next question.
Yeah, I'm curious how this, as we call yet another unprecedented environment, is impacting your sort of new product pipeline or like your innovation strategy, both what's in the pipeline now, but also what you might be putting in the pipeline or taking out of it later.
Great question.
I mean, for us, it's just that we have product innovation going on, but I'm not comfortable putting it forward because I can't even pinpoint what my costs are right now. And so I'm just kind of working on all of that, you know, behind the scenes so that it's ready at the time when hopefully all of this comes to a standstill. But that's all you can do is plan for the future. But I mean, my advice is not to put out anything right now because you just don't know what your costs are.
Yeah, I think you pointed out exactly the irony here is that, like, for us, we're paying tariffs on spices that are coming from Vietnam and Turkey and all these other farmers that we work with around the world. Where are we saving that money is exactly that. We were going to put out a really fun advent calendar, but the packaging was going to get printed in China, and we were like, this is too messy right now. We can't handle our packaging costs doubling or tripling by the time we do this. So we're slowing down innovation. We're slowing down hiring, and we're like a company, 100% of our team is based in the US. We spend over $1 million with USPS and UPS and FedEx and all of that every single year. And so where's that money coming from is in this innovation and in this domestic US investment in hiring and employment. And so money's coming out of one pocket, but the point of cinnamon is that Vietnamese cinnamon is from Vietnam. We don't have a domestic industry for it. The point of herbes de Provence is that they're de Provence, you know, like, so like, I think that these are things that we're not going to change. It's going to impact our product quality. And I think that's a really important message for your customers too. But I think that on the other hand, where can we save money on packaging, on transit, on some of these other innovation things that were investments in the future growth of our company? We're dialing a lot of those things back until we have a much better sense that if we put all this time and money into it, that it's going to hit at around the price point that we think, at around the margin, and around the way that we think, because otherwise it's just madness. We could accidentally be digging ourselves into a hole that will be difficult to come out from.
I mean, that's like a lot of loss, like for the industry, consumers, shoppers, people broadly, eaters broadly. I think we should stick on that a bit. So not only are like new flavors, innovation, you know, advent calendars, it sounds like the best Christmas gifts I could think of right now. Not only are we losing all of that, but I think there's also some like real cultural and authenticity loss that we can talk about here as well. You know, with spices or products that originate in other countries, and then, you know, it's almost like they're being forced to be white-centered from being originated in America, when that's just like not their true story.
Yeah.
Can we speak to what the importance of that is and how we can, kind of make that part of this conversation?
I'll do my best not to rant on this because we don't have that much time. But all I just wanted to say is that the point is that the history of America is bringing in ingredients from other places and turning them into the classic American flavors. Black pepper doesn't grow in America. We've seen records from George Washington's recipe book that included cinnamon, and that has never grown in the U.S. So the history, what it meant to be American, was always to bring all these things that grow really beautifully elsewhere and then turn them into our own Old Bay seasoning and Montreal steak and all these other really iconic lemon pepper, all these other things that we know as being American and our favorite flavors. Hot dogs have coriander in them. Apple pie has cinnamon in it, right? Vanilla ice cream, of course. So I think that what it does is if we just say, hey, everything foreign is taxed, it's going to make it more expensive and less available. We'll lose a lot of diversity in that. We bring 10% of our spices in domestically. We work with a chili pepper farm in California. We work with a father-daughter salt production company in upstate New York, and some herb farmers also domestically. And we're bringing in everything that we can already. But I think that what's going to happen is that it's going to get a lot blander and it's going to get a lot less flavorful. And I think that this is one of those unintended consequences and collateral damage for this. We're not here negotiating with Vietnam on whether or not they should be growing peppercorns and cinnamon. Of course they should. This is one of the oldest industries in the world, is bringing things in from other places. That would really make American life and American tastes more expensive and less accessible in a silly unintended consequence of this broader negotiation.
Yeah, and just another form of economic exploitation, potentially ruining that centuries, generational industry.
Right. I mean, it's just also we're making an authentic Indian product, and a lot of the spices and the ingredients like coconut cream and cumin and all of these spices, they just are not, you can't grow them domestically. And it's not that we're not supporting local economies. We actually make our products in the US. So, I mean, as far as kind of the motivation of these tariffs, it's we already are making them here. It's just that we need those ingredients to make the types of products that we specialize in.
Yeah, so we have erasure at stake, and it's hurting businesses where the employees are in the U.S., the manufacturing is in the U.S., the processing is here.
Yeah, New Yorkers, their everything bagel's about to get a lot less everything,
And this is why the exclusion process is so important, and that's why people are pushing so hard for it, because certain products, the tariffs make no sense. And so it's important when you do have the opportunity to file those exclusions, don't miss the window, make sure you're getting those arguments out there, because food products are just such an obvious candidate for a carve-out, really.
And if you want to sue the government.
Yeah. Or join a lawsuit against the government. But those are slow.
I just had
thanks. Next
I
question.
had a quick question about that. I've been importing extra virgin olive oil into the U.S. for 18 years now, and you were alluding to, because I do a lot of direct retail to my consumers. You did sales and kind of like a tariff. You were being open and honest. What did that look like for you? What was that? Buy one get one. Were you doing kinds of deals, 20% off? Was it select products? Was it across the board?
Yeah, when we did this, we wanted to make a statement about it. So we did a site-wide sale where we did 10% off under 100, 15% off 100 to 200, and 20% off 200 plus. We were trying to incentivize people to stock up, and what we know is when we do bigger orders, our margins are a little bit better. So this wasn't totally coming out of our pockets, but it was okay, if you buy more, we're gonna share some of that savings with you, and we both get to benefit together. But I honestly am even should we put stickers on all of our packaging saying, if the tariffs go through, this product will be 30% more expensive. How do we just do a little more to just raise public awareness on where it's going to hit their wallets? But we were really trying to find places where we can kind of cut margins, and for consumers spending more money with us, how can we kind of share some of that upside with them? Not in a way that puts us out of business, but saying, hey, if you're down to buy a lot more and kind of set up your spice cabinet right now for the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to share that upside with you.
And on that, just a quick note too. I mean, these spices have a shelf life.
Right.
Can you both speak to that and how that's impacting your business, and then I'll go to the next question.
Yeah,
briefly.
super short. Our spices, we put a 3-year best by date from them. I mean, spices don't expire, but they don't get better with time. Our direct model gives us a much better like peak flavor time. But yeah, it's a good product that you can bring in. You don't have to consume it all in the next 3 months before it goes away. And so that's where that does work well. Saying, hey, if you buy more, our business does better, but you're also going to be set up for a little bit longer. But we found that it's actually turned our whole year's trajectory around. We were down a little bit this year on e-commerce, and we did the tariff sales. All these new people came in. It was really great for new customer acquisition and all that. And all of a sudden, our year is looking really nice. We're going up and up and up because people ended up sharing the message and the vision. And then it brought a lot of new people into our universe by doing this. So we ended up gaining by sharing a discount with our customers.
I think that, what you were talking about is just being transparent with your customers too. I think that as a brand owner, we need to do more of that to let our customers know exactly what is going on and what the repercussions are for the consumer. Because I think the more noise that we make, the more this is going to just raise up and something's going to happen.
Totally.
Thanks. Okay, next question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes, hi. Thanks for everything. Is there any general consensus around when this instability will let up? When will things stabilize again?
I think anyone's guess is as good as anyone's guess. I don't think anyone really knows when things will stabilize. The goal of these tariffs, I think, is a transactional situation where we would eventually have deals emerge with various countries. We've seen that with the United Kingdom. I think we'll eventually see it with Canada and Mexico. That's where a lot of this noise is coming from in the short term. And as those deals are negotiated, I think there'll be stability on a country-by-country basis. That's difficult with food products. Generally, we tell our clients, diversify your sourcing, be flexible. Certain spices, have to come from Vietnam, have to come from India. So it's more difficult with those products. But in terms of stability, I think it'll be on a country-by-country basis over the next several months, if not years. It's not happening quickly. I'll say that. I don't think that there is going to be emerging stability all at one time.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
I wish it was that simple.
I wish it was that simple, yeah.
So it's going to be just as chaotic in September as it is now?
It's impossible to say. I think that as prices increase and tariffs become more unpopular by a wider swath of people, and as we approach the midterms, and if that unpopularity is really felt, the advisors who are currently pushing the president on tariffs might find themselves fading into the background. But again, that's pure speculation. Right now, the president loves tariffs. The advisors that love tariffs seem to have a lot of access to the president, so it doesn't seem to be slowing down.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the important thing to know is that this administration thrives in the chaos, so expect the unexpected. Next question, please.
Yeah, just another quick one from me. I'm curious how, I guess, Ori, for you, being kind of like a DTC and retailer brand, how are you thinking about that channel strategy moving forward as a majority DTC brand, and how you also continue to work with retailers or shift channels?
Yeah, I think we've always had this kind of like omni-channel. Like the idea is like we're like water, just trying to like flow wherever there's the least resistance. There are certain moments where people do want to go to their grocery stores because they're able to shop everything at once and just pick things up. And then when the economy is really good, we see e-commerce get bigger because they can come in and order 8 to 10 spices on our site, and it's not a big deal. We're trying to make easier spice blends. So, like how do you do things that you don't have to think about? You can just buy one jar and it's a blend of everything together instead of buying this spice and this spice and this spice. But we're keeping an open eye to it. What we know is that a lot of people are still going to specialty independent stores because they want to feel like they're able to spend on themselves. And that's exactly where they go to find new brands and find really cool things and find things that are really going to level up their cooking. I think that we're going to see a really nice bright spot with specialty independent, regional kind of retail shops. And I think that also the bigger shops are like, people may not want, our average site order is around $60, between $60 and $66, depending on the time of the year. People may just want to buy a single jar of cinnamon. And if they want to do that, the best place to do that is in their grocery store. So we're kind of keeping open for all of this, but we're trying to just have a compelling offer in all of this and also change our messaging a little bit around efficiency. Because like at the end of the day, every spice jar that you buy, you're spending less than 3 cents at the end of the day per meal on these ingredients. It's a really inexpensive way to level up your cooking, to make it more satisfying and delicious. And so we're kind of open to seeing where all this goes, but our core is our e-commerce, where we can launch new products, where we can rapidly change prices, where we can message all of our customers and be like, hey, we're doing something really big right now. And we've seen a really strong response from that by kind of staying true to our values and messaging to our customers based on that. How are you thinking about channel strategy in this wild time?
We're mainly wholesale, so it's basically just thinking about kind of the repercussions that may happen for price increases. But also, we are communicating with our customers more about what's happening, and I feel like we've definitely gotten a lot of response from customers that do buy directly from us, that they just want to support us, because we do get more margin when people buy directly from us.
Okay, last call for any questions, or otherwise I will ask my last question. Okay. Well, I think we should leave this audience with a call to action. What would that be for you?
For me, it's definitely contact your representatives, let them know the impacts, ask for an exclusion process specifically. I think that is the most efficient way towards relief here. And also track the developments carefully, whatever source you use, make sure that you're looking at tariffs that are actually implemented and are reacting accordingly. Don't get distracted by all of the noise.
Great.
I think that people are looking for leadership and for a voice that's not partisan, that's not this, just come in and talk about your business and who's making it and who it's impacting and what it means and how you want customers to step up. I think people are looking for you to talk to them and bring them into the process and like we were talking earlier, direct them in some directions. And a lot of those can be to support your small business and make sure that you can continue to exist throughout these kind of wild times. The other thing I just wanted to say is that tariffs are happening broadly to the whole industry, to a whole, like there are these blunt tools. So we're being impacted by this as well as every other spice company in America. Nimble, small companies have an edge here where they can kind of really move quickly and change things and change messaging and change packaging and change labels and change products. So like lean into your nimbleness. Our company grew tenfold in 2020 and 2021 because we were able to really not run out of inventory and because we were able to talk to people who really wanted to cook at home and wanted ingredients and were scared of going out to restaurants. That was a moment of real growth for our company. Anytime that there's uncertainty and forces that are destabilizing existing customer behavior, they're going to be winners and losers. And so I think this is where small, nimble, clever founders, entrepreneurs, and companies are going to actually find good ways to grow market share, to get in front of more customers, and to kind of win the loyalty of people for years to come.
Love that.
I'd say support the small businesses that you believe in, because we're on a shelf right now with other Indian brands that are either venture-backed or they're part of conglomerates. But there's a lot of small family-owned businesses on those shelves that we need support, basically, because we're just getting squeezed by all ends, and we want to survive.
Okay, well, thank you all so much for being here, and I'm sure if you have any other questions for these esteemed panelists, they will be able to get in touch. Thank you for being here.